Hello Waste Warriors, I'm back with my review of the Smart Cara. If you missed the previous video, the Smart Cara is this little beast behind me, which describes itself as the state-of-the-art solution to the food waste problem. What's not to love about that? And what you do with it, here's my show and tell, is it has a bucket that goes inside, looks like that. You fill it up with your food waste scraps, like so, and when it's full you press the button. And in a few hours' time, you end up with this. Do you see that? You can hear it. It's very dry. And obviously I'm not reeking up my nose at it. It smells very nice. And it's like a dry plant fertiliser. So as my favourite master composter pointed out to me, it doesn't compost because it doesn't use microbes. It uses heat. But what you're left with is that product there, which you can either use to start a fire, which is handy for me because I have a wood burner, or you can use it in the garden as a kind of free plant food fertilizer type thing. So this is how much stuff I have collected in the month that I've been using it, and that, as it is, weighs less than a bucket of scraps. It takes away about 90% of the water out of the food, leaving you with something that's dry, and it's not odourless. I think it's really nice actually. It smells a little bit like the bottom of the saucepan is burned, you know, and you get that sort of cooked food smell. Daughter really hates the smell, husband really loves it, thinks it's really earthy, so each to their own. But while the machine is operating, there's no smell whatsoever. I think the most important thing people have been asking me is about running costs, price for it. So I've done my research. I've had it plugged into one of these electric monitors the whole month, and it's using between 0.7 and 0.8 kilowatts per cycle. I've used it, I don't know, about a dozen to 14 times. So I've used 11.5 kilowatts over the month. I can put it into money for you, but it's probably not very helpful because we all pay different costs. My electricity cost me 16 pence per unit, so it's been just over £2 for the month. The other running cost associated with it is filters. I haven't had to replace them yet. They recommend, I think it's every 3 months that you replace them, so that's £6, so another £2. So you're looking at £4 a month to run the machine. And I really like using it. There's obviously a lot of technology hidden in what appears to be a very simple machine, as is the best things in life. It obviously keeps detecting how much humidity is left in the product, and it changes the cycle accordingly. So it's not just you press the button and it runs for 3 hours. It runs on, you know, how much you've got in there and how wet the stuff is. It's pretty quiet. It kind of whines a little bit, but I don't mind it. And it's definitely odourless. There's no problem at all with that. And I mean, I just put it on at bedtime and come down in the morning, and it's done its magic. So it works really well for us. Who's going to want the product? I think this is the question that everybody's asking. Well, I made a big assumption. I assumed that everybody in the UK had food waste collections. Did my little straw poll on Facebook, and 50% of people said yes I do, 50% of people said no I don't. And I called RAP, who have figures for things like this, and they told me that around 60% of councils offer food waste collections at kerbside. So that does mean that there are 40% of us in the UK that do not have food waste collections. Now, I believe, I'm not very good at doing my research, but where this machine was designed in, I think it's Korea, there's lots of people there without access to gardens. They don't have food waste collections, and most importantly, they have a pay-as-you-throw system, which is something we don't have over here. So that means, you know, every gram of stuff you're throwing away, you're paying for that, which is going to make this appear to be a very, what's the word I'm looking for here? The sort of thing you're going to want, because it's going to pay for itself, okay? If you've got food waste collections from kerbside, would you want one? I've got food waste collections from kerbside. I tend not to use them because I compost. I've got a garden. I've also got chickens. I know that technically, legally, you're not meant to feed chickens your kitchen scraps, but you can feed them your vegetable scraps from the garden, which is fine. And I actually don't deal with the waste. My husband deals with it. So I'm from Camp Lazy, I have to say, and so this really appeals to me because in the winter our compost heaps are sometimes like we have to go across water to get to them because we've got clay soil in the garden. So they're a long way down the garden. I am very lazy and I don't like walking through water. So during the winter I could see me using this, definitely. If I used my food waste collections, I probably wouldn't have a use for it. But I've talked to people, and I haven't talked to people who are into the green lifestyle. I've talked to people who are actually really not into it at all. Spoken to a guy who recycles nothing, has that very, bin collections are my right, and I pay the council and they should do everything kind of mentality. And I showed him this, told him a little bit about it, just, what are your thoughts on that? And he could start to see that actually it might be quite nice to divert food from his bin, because it gets a bit, by the time you've had a two week space between your collections in a hot sunny summer, then he's finding that his bin is a little bit doesn't really want to have to deal with it. So he was kind of, okay, maybe, how much is it? I said, well, how much do you think? And he said £40. So that was interesting. I spoke to a lady who is older. She's got disposable income. She doesn't have a need for it, but I said, how much do you think this is worth? And she said, I know that new technology is normally quite expensive before it comes down in price, so she valued it at £1,000, but said she would be prepared to pay £350. So we've gone from £40 to £350. I spoke to somebody else and I said, who do you think the target market is for this? She said, I am. I'd love one. I'm like, but you don't recycle anything. No, I know, but I'd really love one. And I think her idea was just that it was actually a really cool gadget to have. How much would you pay for it? 150 quid, mate. So, varying opinions from 40 to 350 up to, it could be worth £1,000. The machine costs £400. So if you have got food waste collections and if you compost, you're probably not going to be rushing out to buy one. If, however, you don't have food waste collections and your landfill bin is collected every 2 or 3 weeks, as it is in some areas, could be the product for you. I really like it. I'm going to keep hold of it and I'm going to keep using it. I tend to do, some food, as I say, goes to the compost, some goes to the chickens, although I'm probably not meant to say that, am I? I won't tell anyone if you don't. And other things get put into here. I like to have the choice, actually, and I'm looking forward to using the fertilizer that I'm getting. I'm calling it fertilizer, soil enhancer that I'm getting out of it as well, to see what that does to my. Perhaps I'll get tomatoes this size or something like that. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? So it's very easy to use. It's got a wash cycle, which I was very dubious about, thinking, what? Surely I can just wash it. But interestingly enough, it did. It looked like it kind of burned at one stage. I can't imagine what I put in there that kind of did that. I did put a couple of different things in, but I still haven't kind of worked out what it was. I put it through the wash cycle and I was astonished, actually, how brilliant it was. And I thought, maybe, I'm just going to pour boiling water into it next time, because it did burn again. I poured boiling water into it and left it, and the results were nowhere near as good. So it does something. I think the little fairies get in the wash cycle and kind of scrub that sort of thing. So it's very good. It's obviously detecting stuff all the time. As I said, it's something that looks very simple. You just press a button and you leave it, but it's doing all sorts of amazing stuff. Actually, I'm very impressed with the technology. I really like it. I know it's not for everybody. I think the price point is going to be prohibitive for a lot of people. The running costs, I think, are fine. £4 a month, that's fine. I'm sure I used to spend more than that on things like bin bags and kitchen towel in the good old days before zero waste. So there we are. If you've got any questions, please let me know, because I've probably forgotten to talk about loads of stuff. That's it. There's my review of the Smart Cara. I hope it's given you some food for thought. And I'd love to know what you do with your food waste, especially people that don't have food waste collections. What do you do with it?